Now, we are going to talk about the iter functions. As we have already discussed about the iter function that is being used to request the iterator object. So iter function will give you the iterator object from the iterables. Consider this example for that. Here we have this L as a list we have created. Now when we call the iter of list or this L object, it will return you the iterator object. We can check the type. It's a list iterator object. And we can use that iterator to iterate the collection by calling the next until we do not reach the stop iterations. Like when we call this next of this iterator object, this will give you the element. Here also we can see that, right? We also saw that how sequence types are iterable even though they are not actually iterables. So in short, they do not have the iter method built in with that, but instead they have the get item method, even though they are the iterables. So Python had no problem at iterating the sequence object. So actually behind the scenes, the iterator is a built-in Python in order to iterate using the get item method. So when we have this class, let's say that we have this class of square, we have this init length and the get item method. This will raise the index error. We have the sequence of 5, we can check the loop. We can do this. So we are also iterating, we are trying to get the iterator object from this object, from this sequence object. Now we have the iterator for SQ. When we check the type of that, we'll get the iterator. Now this is the iterator object we have, right? When we check the next, it's true. So what happened here is Python will first try to iterate by calling the iter method. If that method does not exist, it will call the get item method after that. If that is there, so it will use the get item method to do the iteration starting from the 0th index. If neither of the iter and the nor the item get item method is available, like if both method iter and the get item method does not exist in the object, so it will give you the error. Like here we are iterating the 10 object which is not in this. So this belongs to the integer class, and this integer class does not have the iter and the get item method, so this will give you the error. This will give you the error as a type error, right? So here is how we might build the iterator using the get item method. Like over here, let's say that we have this square, we are using this get item method. Now we have this square iterator, we are using the square iterator, we are building the square iterator class to iterate it, this square object over here. We have this iter method, we have this list method, so we have this next method which does the stop iterations. When we do so, here what we are doing is we are creating the object, and now we are passing that object to the iterator. So now this is the iterator object. Now we have the square iterator object, and now we can use the next function to iterate over all the value, right? If that values have exhausted, when we call again the next, we'll get the stop iterations, right? Now over here, because this is a sequence type, we do not need to have the stop iteration. We could have built this index error or something like that. So here we have again the same class, this stop iterator class, but this time we have changed this next method. And when we get the index error, it will handle the index error and then it will do the stop iteration class. After that, it will raise the stop iterations. So when we run this, let's call this iterator again. Let's call this loop, right? And now let's again, so yeah, we have this loop, right? We can again take this next of the iterator over here. This will give me this. So here we are using this index error, right? We can see that first we have got the index error, and after that we have got the stop iteration, right? So how to test if object is iterable or not? So if object is iterable, it has implemented either iter method or the get item method, right? So again, given some object, let's say that if you want to test that object is iterable or not, right? So we would need to test both iter method and the get item method both, right? Here, for example, let's test using the iter method. So here, we have this simple iter class, we have the init method, we have the iter method implemented, right? When we do this, when we call this object, when we call the iter is there or not, we'll get true. If we call the iter method over here, so what happens? So we can see that item return a non-iter object. So it is not only to use the iter method. So the best way is, if you have some needed, so if you have some need to detect if something is iterable or not, we have to check that. So first, so the best thing is you can use the try and except method. So we have this function we have created, which takes the object, it will try to do the iter of object. If it is, it will return true, otherwise it will return false. So like we can create a function to detect that. Now we can use that function. So here we're getting the object, here we're getting this object, right? So now we know that like this thing is iterables, right? And this is it. Again, we'll learn about this exception handling later in the class, right? So this is it all about the iter functions. Thank you very much.